KurtMetzger.com, right?
KurtMetzgerComedy.com.
Kurt Metzger.
KurtMetzger.com, which
Yeah.
I did used to have, but it's like years ago, and I didn't upkeep it or pay the thing. And then now KurtMetzger.com is KurtMetzger.com is a gay-friendly realtor. That's the title, which is weird because are there like openly gay-hating realtors?
No, that's a different.
I would assume they'd be friendly to me no matter my
We'll have you back for a
orientation.
second podcast to discuss that.
That guy's got the
whether
website.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for playing the show last night. It is shots from the Winchester, so we do have to start with a shot in the Winchester. Joe, you mind serving it up?
Absolutely.
You said tequila.
I'm gonna get heartburn if we do.
Yeah. Anything else?
Anything fruity? I don't know. What else is there that? No, I'll do tequila. Fuck it. Pretend this is a. We'll make it a Mexican.
It is actually tequila. It's we could fake it with some water, but
No,
this makes the conversation better. Cheers, bud.
Thanks, man. Oh, before
Thanks,
noon.
Joe.
Before noon, the best way to have that.
That'll wake you up. Best part of waking up is a shot of tequila in the morning. Woo!
Oh, all right. It's not that bad. I could take it.
Yeah. Hey.
I don't do blow anymore, so it's hard to drink shots now. I don't know how people just drink like a lot and don't do. I'm like, how do you just not do coke and just drink a lot? I would just pass out.
That's one of the perennial questions. I've actually never asked that question ever, but it's.
Man, I couldn't imagine just drinking like a lot and like I went to England. You ever go to England?
Yeah.
They say Irish are drunks, but they drink all goddamn day when I was there. I couldn't believe how much they drank when I was there.
But you know what's weird? You go over to like the UK, and the novelty of drinking is it like I don't know if you see the same binge drinking like college level. Like the French, they have a glass of wine starting like 15.
No, it's a lot of reps. It's not. Yeah, they're not benching a lot. They're doing a lot of reps throughout the day.
Yeah.
And but it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like I would pass out if I just drank at every meal, like a pilgrim.
Drinking mead.
Is that what they drank?
I don't know. I've tried to pretend like keep up with your historical knowledge.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of historical drug knowledge.
That'll be the first for this podcast, but dude, I'm ready to go down whatever road you want.
All right.
Actually, we did a little research on you. I didn't know you started doing stand-up here in the Philly area.
Yeah.
Right? Grew up in Tom's River.
Laugh House on South Street.
Yeah. Actually, even before that, which I think you got to tell me if this is true, because every comedian, right? Every comedian, especially the really good ones in the world, they come from some sort of interesting background. And interesting is really me trying to use a soft term for. Usually, they had some sort of fucked up event or childhood or something where they just had
Yeah, you don't have
lens.
to. I mean, I guess a lot do.
A lot do, right?
Who doesn't have a thing? Like, who doesn't have that though? People like I didn't have any weird. I almost don't believe them.
But it gives you a lens to look at the world from. Like that's how you can look at the world and find the humor. You grew up in a Jehovah's Witness family, right?
Yeah, right.
You became an ordained minister.
Well,
in
okay.
high
So
school,
here's
is that right?
what. When you get baptized, everybody knocking on your door is a minister technically. Like they don't have like a clergy or something, right? And so I think that originated from like World War I to not be drafted to get a minister deferment. Because you got to register for selective service when you're 18, and you legal they can't go to war. Jehovah's Witnesses can't go to war. So I think like that's how that started, where it's like so that's why I'd be a minister at 17, because I got baptized. So that's and then when I did my selective service, I put down minister, So I think that's the purpose of it, though.
And then fast forward a couple of years later, you start doing stand-up, which you tell me. The contrasting dichotomies between those two environments.
It's not different. Well, I was going to Art Institute on Chestnut, in Philly, and I was just away from the group, kind of. So I just pulled more and more away, I guess. Like, I always liked stand-up from when I was like 12 or whatever I saw on TV. There was a club there, so I always wanted to try it, and it was just. And then I just got it. I don't know. I just fell into it. I didn't. I'm a real. quitter, but I just didn't. That I just didn't. Dropping out of art school to do that. My parents were disappointed on many levels. Put it that way. Like, it was already not a thrill that I'm like, all right, you're going to art school. Like, oh, you're not going to finish that and be a birthday clown? So, but.
I can see that's every parent's disappointment. Like, I thought he was going to be the best birthday clown in
and then
the south side of Philly.
If you or like you do a lot, then like they would like give me jokes so that I knew I had crossed over from like, questionable to like, oh, they're
supportive.
Yeah, right.
Do your parents come to your shows now?
Well, my dad's dead, so he doesn't.
He's there in spirit. I get it.
We didn't have all that, the soul shit. And my mom is, my mom will come. She comes to shows.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Do you change your material when your mom's there?
No. I'm surprised at stuff my mom laughs at that I would have been in trouble for as a kid. I'm like, oh, you do? Suddenly okay. But she still is a Jehovah's Witness, my mom.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Is it a thing for Jehovah's Witnesses to go to comedy shows, or is that like just not part of their
It's
culture?
not really covered in the...
yeah.
The scripture doesn't mention it if you... Stay out of comedy shows. But I think everybody does how they want, It's all like... there's a certain amount of leeway of people. So some people are more like strict than others, but there's not like... I remember there was a thing like don't see rated R movies was like kind of but like some people did anyway, you just can't do anything that would get you disfellowshipped, which is like where you don't repent for it, so you could be reproved, right? If you did a bad thing, or something that is like, and then if you're like, well, I don't feel bad about it, then so I'm disfellowshipped, I think. I never like I didn't have a formal ceremony. I just stopped going to it, but I imagine that's what I am. Yeah.
Maybe going back, they're like, yeah, we frown on cocaine and.
Well, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything like that until I was 21, and I wasn't doing anything like cocaine when I was 21. But it's just funny being out of the group reinforcement. It don't take long to completely, like, really go out of it.
Yeah. So. One of the things that I think is fascinating is that, like, people know comedians and they see them, but what they don't see is you've been doing comedy 25 years, right?
I started in 1999.
So 23, 24 years now?
I got dyscalculia or whatever they call it. It's like dyslexia of math. I don't know, I guess.
Let's call it 23, 24 years, right?
I mean, almost 25, yeah.
Yeah, coming up on it, right? What people don't see is the grind to get there, right? So you're an Emmy award-winning comedian. You've been on some very high profile. You have an hour-long special on Comedy Central. People see that part, but what they don't see is all the grind and the toil.
Well,
playing
also,
at small shows.
By the way, that part's not like stand-up's the lowest thing of show business. That's the lowest. That's below magician, and it's below a porn star. For a fact, it's below a porn star. Porn stars in L.A., there's like 3 ex-porn star comic. Like, that's the plan B when porn doesn't work out. They go to fucking stand-up. Yeah. Comedian? So...
Or to go back, I feel like going back to porn would also be a lower part of plan B. Like, I'm going to leave porn, go to stand-up comedy. If that doesn't, I'm going back to porn. But
see, it's still a job that someone might be like, oh, I could never do that. You know what I mean? Comedy's like, oh, I could do that. Like, everybody is like, it's not like, somebody else said this too, I'm not the first one, but like, you draw or something, people like mystified, but everybody thinks they're funny, so... It's the one that's like not really part of show business, I would say. Like you could get into show business from it, which is like, and real show business doesn't look at stand up, even though, they make big money on it sometimes, and like special. It's like the agents and managers and all those people they're not making money off you touring, doing stand up, so they don't care about that like that. They're like, do you have a sitcom or something to sell? So that's what the stand-up is for, is to get to that. Now, I just like doing the stand-up part myself, but... Well,
I think that's funny that you say it, because a lot of comedians, like you look at Seinfeld, Jay Leno, Chappelle. There's like some very big guys that have made it, that have done very well in Hollywood, but what do they always say? man, I miss being on stage. And you know, you look at Seinfeld and Leno; those guys never have to work again.
Leno goes on all the time.
He goes on. He has a club in L.A. We actually saw him a couple months ago.
He goes on a lot.
But guys go back. Why is it? Why so? Like you, as you said,
Yeah, well, because it's like
why do guys go back to the stage? What is it? What's the draw about being?
It's just you get into it, and then that's why I don't even think it's some kind of hard work or something. You were just gonna do it. You don't have to even be good at it. It's just like you were always gonna do it. So, but you know, being like, I'm thinking of getting into it. I'm like, well, then you will. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's not like it certainly wasn't like my grit or something. Like, I was just always gonna do it, and it like I wouldn't say it's like a love. Like, I think it's more like a filthy compulsion or something. Like you know what I mean? Like, I have to go do it. I have to.
Yeah, that's what you were put on this earth to do.
It's not love though. I think that'd be a mistake if I loved it. It's almost like lust, like a dirty. I just think of it as a dirty thing I have to do.
There it is, career. There you go, kids.
Because if you try to be in love with it, it's
don't find a career you love. Find something that's like a dirty obsession.
Yeah, then you know, love is like for people and shit. Like then it's better.
But don't you think it would be like it from the audience? I saw you perform not even 12 hours ago. You killed it on stage. The audience just connected with you. Don't you think it'd be unrealistic to say like, well, maybe you weren't enjoying it as much as the audience. So do you feed off of that energy? Because you sure seems like you just love being up there.
There's a good crowd at this. You know.
Yeah. Usually
private things. But not really, you know, vet stuff is not usually, I've never really had a bad,
sure.
Maybe you go to like some German base where they're like bored and they're drunk or something, that's probably maybe could be a bad show I've heard.
Yeah.
I never had a bad one. So that's different. Like, kind of Patrice used to say, like, I kind of could appreciate a good crowd now because I did so many bad ones. So if they're just like a good crowd, I extra can appreciate why they're good now, you know, as opposed to like, you know, when you start and they're good, you don't realize like what you got if it's a good crowd until you have. I've been physically attacked enough on stage at this point to be like
this is
really.
Before Will Smith.
Oh yeah, that's why when that came out, I was like, do people not know that happens? People fucking hate you. It's the job's dealing with drunks. That's the waitress and the bouncer and you kind of the same job of you deal with alcoholics. So they'll just do whatever. You know, they're unpredictable. So I got popped my eardrum once at the Cellar.
Like at the comedy
not on stage.
Yeah.
He got into I don't get the whole thing, but I was on my way out, and I was recording a set for Jimmy Fallon, as every time I had to record a clean set, so I had my phone set up. So ended up being evidence I had to bring into the district, like an assistant district attorney, because he had to pay my ear bill. It came back. But so I beat him up, and he called the cops on me and said he got assaulted by the comic. But the whole crowd saw it, and I already left to get my ear looked at, and basically he got himself arrested. Oh, and we found this out like 2 years later.
That's a great bit right there.
It's a long story, but his wife was the one who started the whole thing. But his wife, because it was like a white cop and a black cop, and the cops called in when we were on the radio. This is like 2 or 3 years later. I used to have a podcast with Sherrod that was on Sirius.
Yeah.
And they were the cops that showed up that night. And I guess she took a swing. So his partner was a black guy. She took a swing at him, called him the N-word while they were arresting her husband. So she got arrested. And then he said she ended up leaving the husband and started dating that cop. That's how that ended up.
That's poetic justice.
I know. I feel bad for the guy now.
People it's funny you bring up like bad crowds. People only see like the good crowds. Well,
just drunk. Like I don't want to say bad because he really is. I don't like to make it.
But there are bad crowds. I've played in front of crowds of, like I've done crowds of only other comedians who are on open mic nights, who are only sitting there and they're looking at their phones, preparing their set list. Nobody's paying any attention to it. Every joke you hit,
right.
It just
those are not.
There's a deadfall.
That's where were you at the Comedy Cabaret?
No, I played at Helium.
Oh, Helium was like that.
Well,
I guess you got to do that.
It was only other comedians, right? So
it's not a good. I guess you could call that bad crowd show.
Yeah, but it was really so. I mean, surely, like coming up through the ranks, you must have played some, you call them bad, whatever you want to call them, like some tough crowds where either like nobody's paying attention, or you ever play a crowd in front of like 3 people,
Yeah.
like in somebody's backyard or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, all kinds of shit like that.
But I don't think people know that about like the stand-up comedy world. About all they see is they see
Well, that's
you
what
at
I'm
the
saying.
end, right?
It's not like. I have a friend who's like I used to work like years ago. He used to own this Consumption Junction website that had like, be like fucked up pictures, like a rotten.com. But he used to pay me to write something for them every 2 weeks or something. I would write it, and he's a really funny guy, but he wasn't gonna be a stand-up because he's already rich. So why would he do a 3-person? Like, why would you put yourself through that if you don't? So,
Which is funny because you said what you implied in what you just said is, in order to, he's rich, right? He's doing well, but in order to make it in stand-up,
you don't get to have your fucking dignity. Here, put that. You know, Chappelle said on something. I know he said on something. I think on the DVDs of the show. But you don't get to have your. I think it was the commentary where he was playing that crackhead guy and he's telling the kids about drugs, and he like drags a garbage can and shit right in the class, and he's like, you don't get to have your dignity and be a comedian. So that's the thing, is to get over the idea of your dignity. You kind of almost got to be the room, kind of, and not have any, And I had all kinds of things.
You got to be willing to hang it out there, right?
Yeah, and
all
also
your flaws and everything else.
Well, and also not take any. I don't like. It would be very hard for me to take something personally now on stage. Even if they suck, I'll find a way to make it my fault in my head.
What do you mean? If the crowd sucks?
Yeah, like the last time I bombed was at I mean bomb, not just had so-so. I mean like where it's not a tie.
You hit the joke and it was total silence.
No, I was in Boca Raton recently, like not long ago, maybe like 6 months ago or 7 months ago. It was like the worst bomb I had in 15 years probably. And there's always one coming, but it was outdoors. It's like usually the sound's not right and the light isn't right.
Sure.
And then the crowd, they were on these like hammock chairs. There's an outdoor thing.
Yeah.
And I guess the chairs were collapsing during the. Couldn't see it because I was blinded by the light from Die Hard that they used on the Nakatomi building. It was like, that sucked. And like the mayor of Boca Raton was, it was like bad. And then people started getting in fights. People started breaking into fights in the crowd, fist fights, unrelated to hating me. They just had their own disputes on top of they didn't like me. Because the chairs
Makes
would
it very hard
collapse.
to deliver a joke there. Like, stop fighting.
I was with this comic, Kyle Grooms, who is from Miami. And he went on first, and he did like okay, kind of. Like, but he told me he was
Considering
rusty.
there were people in hammocks, there were chairs that were falling out, and they were fighting
This
him.
was before, I didn't see none of that when I got on. Kyle did okay.
It's like a bad 80s sitcom, by the way, what you're describing.
Well, so we're walking back to his car, which he parked really far. We're walking through like this kind of outdoor mall, and it was like, I don't know, like 100 like college-age kind of blonde girls and maybe parents a little bit. And so they see Kyle and they start cheering like they at the top of their lungs. And they're all like grabbing him like he's the Beatle. Like, and it was so crazy how much that I thought it was he has like a local show there or something. But no, he goes, no, they were just at that show. But he goes, so they hated my guts that much, they just wanted me to see them cheering Kyle. And Kyle, he goes, they didn't even like me that much. That's a crazy. They didn't even really like him. That's how bad I did this show.
That's a vindictive audience.
It's just, it was like the most.
That's people looking for a scapegoat. They just need a vent.
Well, Boca is like a dumb. If I had just, sometimes I have intel going in of what it's like.
Yeah.
If I just have a little bit, I could do it. But I just didn't have the intel on Boca that I needed, which I would have now I would have because of that bombing.
Yeah,
like,
now
I
you're
would have it.
walking into a hostile audience.
It's all these dipshit retired dentists from Manalapan and their dumb trophy wives that are like, honestly, God, I wish I had known everything about these people before I went. But hey,
you could be like that Bill Burr set he did in Philly where he just hammered them.
Yeah, but I don't even, and I know Bill never was like proud of that set. People just thought it was funny of how he kept going.
Oh.
But I didn't even
Fantastic.
do it. I can't even say I did as good as that. I would like get like spurts of kind of, and then it would just go back. It was just awful. It was just
What's
one of the
great
worst
about
things.
that Bill
I got
Burr
paid,
set
though.
is how he actually won the crowd back over by picking on him. Like that.
Well, Philly's a brutal.
It is a rough town.
Yeah, like I would put Philly sports fans. I would stack them up as some of the top dumb violent fans.
Oh, that's not where I was going with it. I was
top rated dumb violent fans of things because
wasn't,
Boston,
I
I
wasn't
would say.
going that direction. I was going to say top rated, and I was just going to leave it at that. Top rated fans.
But like where there's going to be, you know, Big J, the comic. Do you know him? He was at a game. I don't know, you know, with those big like square kind of you walk. I don't know what they're called. The openings that you walk into the stadium. He watched somebody with the wrong jersey get thrown off of that. And the whole guy was, yeah, they all cheered. When they booed Hall & Oates, well, the Batteries at Santa is the famous one, but when they threw, he went and saw.
We're gonna edit that out, just by the way. As a Philly fan, we're gonna edit that out.
What?
And we're gonna the Batteries of Santa Claus. I'm a Philly kid.
Okay, but what?
That was 1965.
What was it?
Yeah.
Wait, didn't that happen again? I thought it happened recently.
Listen, this is.
That happened around in the 90s too.
Don't start injecting facts into our theoretical podcast.
Well, you see how you being irrational? That's how they are. They lose their fucking, so.
Can we edit this out and put Kurt's voice in there and be like, I love Philadelphia, and we're just like,
No, I mean, I love Philadelphia, but I mean, it's well known. I used to go to ECW Wrestling in South Philly. Did you ever go to that?
Yes.
It's the only, I wouldn't go to any
like Delco kids in Philly grow up thinking that's real. They're like, oh, this is how you fight.
Well, because we went to bring your own weapons night, okay? And you bring weapons, and New Jack used my sign, my street sign. But
wait, is that a real thing?
what, ECW?
Bring your own weapon night?
Yeah, you bring stuff for them to hit each other with. It's the best. It's
Is
a
that
small arena.
Is that isolated just to Philly? I feel like that's definitely a Philly idea. There's a couple kids in South Philly.
that
that are
got
like,
big. That got
You know how
bought.
we can amp this thing up? Just have people bring like battle axes.
Well, do you know what I'm
and
talking
maces.
about? ECW?
Yes.
Extreme. That was out of Philly, kind of. I think Philly and like kind of upstate New York, but
We're not
that
gonna
got
give
real
them credit.
big. Everybody liked that because it was that violent. It was like that Japanese kind, and and I remember this was before they announced wrestling was fake, kind of that it was written stories.
I like that they had to announce it as if people just didn't realize that, like another dude like stumbling after he gets hit.
Well,
and
they
just
never
fighting.
had been clear. They were always, and it was a big deal. I remember that they said that, but I remember being like, when we were at the ECW, I'm like, I think I figured it out when I saw, like, two of the guys get into a van together afterwards, like Raven and the Sandman. I'm like, I guess he didn't kidnap that
But
guy's
you didn't
kid.
like every kid didn't figure it out at 11 years old when he got in his first street fight. And he's like, eye scrapes. And the other dude was like, what are you doing? And he just smashed him. You're like, oh, shit,
did
I thought
not-
this was going to
that's
work. I
not
thought it was
how
going
I
to off the
found
top
out.
ropes and clothesline you. And then you were just going to kind of like stand in
I
like
think my dad told me they know the outcomes already when I was a kid. I think that, and he was like,
So you got the
because
heads
like,
up.
Well, he was like, that would kill you if somebody dropped you on your head. Like they have to.
By the way, yeah.
like,
Don't take your buddy and drop him flat on his neck.
Yeah, I mean, I would completely break someone's fucking. I mean, they do kill each other doing it sometimes. That's even lower rung than stand up. Wrestling.
So there is somewhere
unless
you can go.
become The Rock, yeah. Those guys are destroyed.
Porn, stand up, ECW,
Well, just wrestling.
just wrestling.
Pro wrestling, yeah, for sure. For in terms of wear and tear, do you ever meet old wrestlers? They're like fucked up, dude. I must have done 3 benefit roasts for the Iron Sheik for his knees. I was like, does he have 3 knees? We did 3. I mean, people, they're all busted up. So I guess it's real in that sense that you get fucked up from it. But I don't remember why I brought it up, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I'll be
There's
honest.
something about Philly.
This podcast is all over the map, and this is probably one of the funnest interviews I've done.
Oh, well, there you go. Taking shots turned out to be all right.
That's what started it. You're here in Philly for a couple of days. You're on tour. Like, what's next? Is it just staying on the road and doing stand up? Or are you looking?
I
mean,
do the show with Kyle Dunnigan, and I do Jimmy Dore show on YouTube.
Yeah.
Kyle Dunnigan show, Jimmy Dore show. That's all I got going. Right.
You're working on another show, right, or another album?
An hour. I'm trying to do a new hour. Yeah.
That's awesome. What kind of preparation goes into that? Are you standing in front of a mirror doing that?
No.
But you have to have a sense.
Like Rupert Pupkin. I have cardboard cutouts of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Mom, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah. Ma! Kurt, meatloaf's ready. Ma, quiet, I'm doing my set.
Yeah. No, I just do spots.
Do you go out and test the material on
Yeah.
audiences, or does that
Yeah, you
ruin
gotta
it for
test
you?
it.
Because if you do it with a bad audience, you're like, that joke didn't work, when in fact, maybe it did. How do you know? Is it just gut intuition?
I'll
that
tell
tells
you a
what
good
works?
rule of thumb.
Yeah.
It's always your fault. And then if it didn't work with a crowd, you just figure out how to get it to work. Because it could just be... I've run into this problem a lot because I got a lot of jokes that you have to like not be completely drunk to get, especially because I start them in ways that, like, that's how I remember I had this fucking joke that I was at the cellar and some girl came from the back and grabbed somebody else's drink and douched me with it. Because this joke where I started saying I was against gay, I'm against gay marriage, and she flipped out. So, but the joke was not against it.
Yeah.
If you heard me out,
Yeah.
and and I just remember being like, they're throwing. I'm like, don't throw. I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
She's like, you're against gay. I'm like, okay, hear me out first of all, and also, what if I had
This
a
is
great
called
reason?
satire. Yeah.
Maybe I had a great reason. You're not even gonna hear the reason before you fucking figure out what happened. Anyway, you're talking to drunks, so you have to figure out. It's not just writing a joke. It's like they're not only gonna be a nice, like private vet audience where they want to hear. You know, sometimes I'll do a private event. No one told people there was gonna be comedy. That's the funnest thing. Where they're like, there's like,
Who's that guy on the mic?
usually it's like a party or they're dancing. We did one. I was with Jay. In fact, I think it was a Philly ski trip at some point. And everybody's just dancing, and they made everybody stop.
I've done comedy
Everybody
before.
stop trying to get laid and sit down and watch these guys just talk at you. Oh my God.
So when you do, it's actually, this is a piece I actually kind of want to wrap up with, but comedy today, you kind of teed up on it like people throwing beers, in your face. You're like, oh, you're against gay marriage. You're like, first of all, it's satire. Secondly, I'm actually not.
I never said satire to her. I wouldn't even bring up the word.
Well, no,
satire.
but I'm saying
that's
like,
way too smart of a word to bring up in a drunk crowd.
If you,
in an
they're
argument.
like, oh, stop throwing your fancy words.
If you
at
say
me.
satire in a minute, you've lost the fight.
I've got a 620 on the SAT. I don't even know what that word means.
Yeah.
But you've been doing comedy? We said almost 25 years. How has it changed? That's kind of a loaded question, but have you changed your set because of the way, like Chris Rock, Kevin Hart? They said they won't play college campuses because
colleges always sucked. It was just really good money. They were never known. Now big names will go. I've gone where I open up for like kind of big names at colleges, and it was great. But most of the comics when I started, it's probably still like that. There's this NACA conference that I think you have to pay to get looked at by these people from the colleges that. So it's like they control the student fund or whatever.
Okay.
And they're usually a moron. I mean, as long as, I'm sure it's not different. They're probably the same moron, and they would pick out the worst shit. So it's always like that. So, now the only difference is you could be kind of a big name and probably get hassled with like nonsense from.
So it's always been there, but they're more.
It's just all the things are like, the money from colleges is huge. I mean, it is. It's almost like being a cruise comic. You probably could have more fun being a cruise comic
on a cruise
now.
ship, just hitting audiences.
Yeah, same money and more fun because they're older than these fucking. But I never was a college. Like, I would have never got NACA. I don't think I'm particularly dirty, but I'm like.
Provocative enough that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So has it changed? Has comedy? I mean, everybody sees the Will Smith slap against Chris Rock, but as you said, that's been going on a long time. Audiences have had a reluctance to accept.
I was supposed to write jokes for Chris for that. So.
Were you really?
Yeah. So. Okay, about maybe a month before, Tim Dillon had a show at the Comedy Store in the main room. His crowd's great. These good guests and stuff on it, and I got done, and Chris Rock came in Now, I know him a little bit from the start, but I never knew him like that. And he never said, hey, man, that was really funny. He just came in, I was like, oh, that's cool, All right, cool. Then he called me up, like a week later, because he's like, he's doing an hour. So, they'll get comics to do like punch-ups on stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool. Like, I was totally down. That's awesome. And he's like, yeah, and I got the Oscars coming up, so I'm probably gonna need jokes for that. I'm like, all right, cool, hit me up. Now, so I'm working on these other 2 things. I would not blow off Chris Rock, okay, on purpose ever, but I thought it was like he would, because I talked on the phone and whatever, but I guess he had some people emailing me. I'm not an email dude like that, okay? And also I was busy, and I don't know when the fuck the Oscars are, because I'm straight. So I'm doing a show in Canada. I'm coming back I'm getting on a plane. I remember my girlfriend called up. She goes, hey, did you write a joke for Chris Rock about Jada Pinkett? And I'm like, no, why?
Oh, no shit.
For the Oscars? I go, no, why? She goes, what? And
you got him slapped.
I go, wait, was that tonight? I didn't realize it was that night. I thought I had it's not that I got him slapped, but I didn't give him any jokes for I don't think it's my personal responsibility that I didn't give him jokes.
Is that the essence of the story? Is like, listen,
It's
Chris, that's not my fault.
I haven't heard from him since then. He's probably busy. It's probably fine. But I haven't heard from him since then. I just was like, oh, and I saw the fucking slap. And I guarantee you he did not, up until it made contact, he probably thought it was a bit.
Yeah. Everybody
see
did.
it. That's what I would have thought. I would have stood there just like that. I'm like, oh, I'm going to
He even said, as Will's approaching, he's like, oh boy. And then we were all like, oh, that was a pretty good fake slap.
And then you
until
got to
it wasn't.
stand there.
Yeah.
Like, so this is why it sucks about being, because he's like a great comic, Chris
Yeah.
Rock. So to have to do stupid Oscars, award shows are no place for like good comedy. They're just not. You know, nobody likes it.
Yeah.
It's a blowjob for actors, and nobody wants to get a blowjob with you cracking wise. Nobody wants that.
You're saying when you say that, like no kidding, when you
a
say
nice
that,
Billy Crystal song and dance
yeah,
from the
like,
90s
and
is
it's,
what
and you're poking fun at the A-listers, but you're not really poking fun at
Also,
them.
there's some of the dumbest people, and I don't even mean like they're stupid. I mean like, just like, well, if you ever watch Will Smith's like hostage situation home movies he would make with his wife, like, I mean, he should have slapped her. Honestly, he should have slapped her. The whole thing wouldn't have happened a long time. You never saw the interview where she talks about how she cheats on him and he's got to just sit, and he didn't, like, it's crazy, dude. This is Will Smith, one of the biggest actors in the world. And she even back him up when he went and did that that's actually the guy that popped my eardrum. It was a couple like that. It was a guy he wasn't like big like Will Smith, but the same like his wife, like he's got to go prove something because he's not like like it was some nonsense like that. So,
So the fact that it's a good question. So the fact that Ricky Gervais continues to get invited back, and he just gets
and
up
I
there,
love those. Listen,
and he doesn't go tame, right? He just murders.
Well, wait,
them.
I love the last one he did. I loved it, but it wouldn't be that funny of a set or a joke. Like the only reason it was great to me was because he's saying it to their dumb faces, but none of it was that funny. You know, it's just like that's
but like
how
the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, and like he's murdering them.
it's
right
funny that
to
he's
their faces.
yes, that's funny. But what I'm
Is that-
saying is
is
those
that-
aren't great bits.
No, that's right. Outside of that
I
context.
was a big fan of it, but
Yeah.
so that's like maybe different. Is that now just literally saying the truth to someone's face might be considered more?
Is that startling to you that he continues to get invited back? Because
no, because
America,
their ratings stink. So that's the
America
ratings.
loves it. Because I mean, you look at the views on YouTube of Ricky Gervais. All you have to do is Google like or search on YouTube for Ricky Gervais like Oscars or whatever the fuck it is. And
Yeah, 'cause the movie's
it's
all-
millions of
yeah.
hits because people enjoy seeing somebody to Hollywood's face do that. Is it
Yeah, they know.
impressive to you that he continues to get invited back because A-listers are like
He's grandfathered into the like you could still.
oh, all right.
No, I love that he does. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to say it's not impressive. It is impressive
Yeah.
to me. But him getting invited back is not impressive because, like, obviously they would do that because what ratings would they get?
Fair.
Who gives a shit about anything that they make now? So you need slaps and like who would watch it? Besides a guy that puts a bow tie on his cat, like Attell used to tell you, like, I put a bow tie on my cat and watch the Oscars.
All right, closing up. You're in Philly this week.
I wore their merch to the.
Wear the merch, man. You got to support people, pay the bills. Is it KurtMetzger.com, right?
KurtMetzgerComedy.com.
Kurt Metzger.
KurtMetzger.com. which I did used to have, but it's like years ago, and I didn't upkeep it or pay the thing. And then now KurtMetzger.com is KurtMetzger.com is a gay-friendly realtor. That's the title, which is weird because are there like openly gay-hating realtors?
No, that's a different.
I would assume they'd be friendly to me no matter my
We'll have you back for a
orientation.
second podcast to discuss that.
That guy's got the
that's-
website. But Kurt Metzger Comedy, I have.
KurtMetzgerComedy.com.
Yeah.
People can find you on tour. You're on tour. You're hitting Philly. You're hitting all the major venues over the next few months.
I go on the road. I like to go like once, twice a month on the road.
That's awesome.
And then back.
All right, dude. Hey, thanks again for joining us, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, man.
Appreciate it.